Running. This is CoderDojo and Perl Evangelism, in case you haven't been able to. The is a international network of computer coding clubs. It was developed in Ireland, and they basically started all over the UK and Europe. This world map kind of shows where the clubs are. This is a program that's designed for kids, probably will have mentors available, and some of them are very the world view. I just wanted to give you a look at that. In the U.S. itself, there are lots of clubs around the U.S. Basically, if you go to the CoderDojo website, which I'll show you later, you can zoom in and find yourself a local club. And if you don't have one, you can start one maybe, or perhaps coordinate with people that are interested in kind of offering a space for people to actually learn. Zooming in even further, you get to central U.S. and you can see there's the typical representation of clubs that are kind of popping up. And as I said, this is kind of a new phenomenon, but the CoderDojo program itself kind of got started with the Hello World Foundation. With the Hour of Code programs for the last couple of years. They partnered with them for the first few years, and now the code kind of run by a organization that has its own backing. On the CoderDojo website, there's resources where you can find out a little bit more about what it does, and basically there are lots of suggestions for forming your own group. Also, there's information there where you can find your local club. You'll see the maps that you saw previously. You can type in a city or a zip code and kind of zoom in and see where things are near you. But essentially, these are coding opportunities that are run by volunteers in the local area. It's not organized from a corporation on high. Like Code Day has a central company, and then they have code days around the U.S. The CoderDojo programs are meant to meet once a month or twice a month. Some of them meet more often, but in the Des Moines area, we just do once a month as a guaranteed meeting, and then we have some special events. There's a CoderDojo Foundation where they offer resources in building a community. They form partnerships with other companies and basically build awareness for the CoderDojo project. Right now, how many people are familiar with CoderDojo? Is this okay? So yeah, see, we're building awareness right now, kind of giving you a chance to sort of see what's been happening. Like I said, this is all over the UK and Ireland. That's where it's centered. A lot of activity there, but the U.S. is picking up steam fast. About a year ago, there were maybe a third of the clubs that you see on the map now. The CoderDojo Foundation tells me there are 700 CoderDojos now that are organized, that are active. So there's 700 clubs running worldwide. One of the main things about the CoderDojo kata, the kata is sort of their curriculum. Everything here is in the, they talk about little coding ninjas that you have, in everything is centered around dojo language. But basically, the kata is an open forum. It's a wiki where you can share resources and sort of build a curriculum to be shared with the various clubs. And so within the kata, there's like the dojo sushi. We'll get to that later. A lot of kids start out with Scratch. We move our own kids to Berkeley Snap, which is like a grown-up Scratch. Have anybody heard of Berkeley Snap? It's a visual programming language like Scratch, and they're actually using it in first-level computer classes at UC Berkeley to kind of do basically syntaxless coding. So the kids can learn how to code or how to think in terms of building algorithms to do things without having to, oh, you missed a semicolon. So it's used that way. They have lots of Alliance resources. There's tutorials on various topics. All the resources in the kata are being reorganized and written. They have kata arcade where they kind of teach you how to build your own your own Raspberry Pi arcade machine or MAME type of tools. Look, no surprise there. We got Python and Ruby's languages. They have Minecraft, a hardware laboratory. They have a studio for audio, processing. These are just all resources that you can draw on in case you have a kid at the local CoderDojo that's sort of interested in something. There's sections on GitHub, and there's a special CoderDojo Girls project. And so, all these things are sort of happening in the context of the kata. And everything's being translated. So the whole kata is now, they've got, kata in Dutch, Japan, and Italy. They basically have a lot of translation projects going on. So what's missing? There's no Perl. Well, there's never any Perl, is there? That's the thing. So I approached the CoderDojo project, and I said, hey, why no Perl curriculum? And they said, well, you want to have one, why don't you build it? So guess what I've been doing? I've been working on developing a Perl curriculum. We're going to be launching it on the wiki, which is part of the kata. But right now, there's this wonderful placeholder page that does nothing more than just describe what Perl is and a couple links to Perl.org and Perl 6. Again, you go to any resource on the web. This is a nice little graphic from Codecademy. And the CoderDojo projects use the Codecademy resources a lot as ready-made tutorials. And they have like a description of, oh, you want to learn HTML and CSS or PHP or JavaScript, Python, Ruby, and where can that lead you? And so here's a map of different skills and how that integrates with their various courses. And coming out the other end, you might be a blogger or a web designer or an animator or a computer programmer, a game creator, whatever. But once again, no Perl. So this is sort of the landscape that we sort of face. So where do you start? And this is my favorite XKCD cartoon, but I've used this with my programs. What are you going to do to have for useful 11th grade activities? A claim here 1 weekend, probably more than most. But I found this to be true with a few kids. They it sort of clicks. So the proposition, teaching Perl to kids. And, I had a question for myself. Is it a bad idea to start with, right? Perl seems to be the language you end up with later on. Oh, gosh, he's telling me to whip it up. I didn't realize I had a timer. I'm sorry. Thank you. So is Perl a bad idea? I don't know. This is an open question. I think that we've got some opportunities here. Python always seems to be the default language of choice for many beginner projects. And, can we identify, I had a conversation with Sawyer and a few other people just asking, can we identify a subset of Perl that's appropriate to teaching beginning concepts? Maybe, Perl and Perl 6 are such massive languages. Maybe there's an appropriate core that we can concentrate on, to sort of build some initial experience with coding. Because I've certainly taught real simple, programming concepts using Perl. It's worked with the kids I've tried it with. Finally, Perl 6. Should we use Perl 6? I keep asking people, is Perl 6 the big reset? Does that give us a chance to say, hey, yeah, it's everything that they claim Python's good for. It's a good OOP-oriented language. I think Perl 6 might create an opportunity to sort of reintroduce Perl again from the context of you start here, and we can teach people coding, and they would end up with a language that doesn't have the prejudice of oh, it's all regex and no kid will understand it and all that sort of thing. There's a contrast of philosophies, between Perl and Python, right? More than one way to do it versus the Python Zen of Python, which is, there should be one and preferably only one obvious way to do something. I don't know. Larry Wall purports, this is a purported slide. Although the Perl slogan is more one way to do it, I hesitate to make 10 ways to do something. I have to ask him if that's a true quote. But I saw that and I thought, okay, maybe. But I actually find that sometimes the flexibility of Perl aids the thinking of kids, but I think Python tends to be a little rigid in terms of what they're trying to do. One of the bigger resources that I run into is rosettacode.org, and it's a wonderful website. It's a wiki of examples of programs, different, like, learning to deal, like, basically, here's a program snippet that will deal a deck of cards and shuffle or whatever. And they've implemented that task in any of 60 different languages. And, basically you have side-by-side examples of all this stuff. You've got, great code examples. It's easy to see a sample problem, how it can be solved by using languages side by side. I've taken a program problem, and you've got the Python solution, the Perl 5 solution, and the Perl 6 solution. You can kind of see how they all contrast. It's a great learning tool. Perl 6 is included. Once again, you can see where this is heading, right? So basically, you've got a situation where, you've got Perl 6, it has a lot of examples on Rosetta code. And that's really a great thing. It's probably a real testament to the Perl 6 team and all the things they've been doing. But this particular resource has been really, really helpful. So building a Perl kata, if we're going to build this resource, we're looking for the best tutorials we can find. I'm looking for, like, I've been reviewing and checking through all the Learn Perl in 2 hours stuff, and basically all the tutorials I can find on the web. We're selecting the best examples from Rosetta code. Not every child will understand what a Fibonacci sequence is all about, So basically, you've got a situation where you have to find examples that are sort of practical. And we're validating examples using Rakuto Perl with more VM. And so we've been doing a lot of things where we are taking the Perl 6 examples. Some of them are coded with older versions of Perl 6, and they don't really work with the latest, Perl 6, the version that came out in March. So we've been sort of validating things. This is sort of a sidetrack. We always are on the lookout for the best environment to learn coding. We looked at Padre, and that's interesting. But it has Strawberry Perl built in. But Padre seems to be kind of old. It's kind of abandoned. I haven't seen much active development of it recently. I've been sort of curious about it. But it's a good combined IDE where you've got your IDE debugger and everything's kind of built in. I don't usually shill for Microsoft very often, but they have this new thing called the Visual Code Studio, and it's a code editor. It displays syntax, and that's about it. It does have some debugging facilities for Node.js and some other things. But what we found was that you download your Rakuto Perl for Perl 6, and you've got the more VM. Look at the list of languages. And it's the first thing I've seen, Perl 6 support. They added Perl 6. So there you go. So back to this. We've been looking at we've been looking for the best tutorials, and we've been kind of checking things out. I really like the idea of building web frameworks. Lots of kids, when kids come to me with programming, they just want to build something that works on a website. And of course, I can tell them all about Perl CGI. But they broke my heart, and they took CGI PM out of the core with Perl 5.22. It's done. I have to sort of adjust. I work for Wells Fargo, and I actually code dancer applications at Wells Fargo for information security. I'm looking into other frameworks as well, but I'm basically looking for the best examples of these sort of things. You've got Perl Dancer, you've got Modulicious. These seem to me to represent really great frameworks for building something that's easy, where the kid can set up a route. It's just, okay, my slash, what do you want to do? Even if it's hello world, it makes it very easy for a kid to build something useful in Perl. So once again, looking for my best examples. This is where you guys come in, I think, or anybody listening. There is a concept called the CoderDojo sushi. The sushi is essentially a bite-sized bit of project, okay? So it's delivered on a double-sided laminated card. One card is one concept. Basically, you can teach a programming concept or do something in some easily digestible bite. And I think of it as like, if you've got a great example for here's how you loop through a hash, for, or just you come up with something practical. But the first sushi card that came out from CoderDojo had a bunch of steps in how to build a website. And so there's all these things that are kind of laid out where kids can take this as a project and kind of learn to put the pieces together to actually build a website. This is all HTML based mainly. But there's also examples of, okay, how about making a crossword puzzle, or doing a Sudoku thing. Basically they're developing all this curriculum right now as we speak. So this is it. See, ultimately I want the kids I teach to understand why that might be funny. See, so. And I think Perl can be general enough where something like that passes. And a sushi card is basically a lightning talk on paper. So one of the things I would like to do is sort of say, hey, if you've got an idea for something small and concise, or if you've got something appropriate, like for a quick lightning talk sort of thing, we just want it captured so we can maybe develop a sushi card on it. And that's it. My email address is prairienix@gmail.com. I thank you for being at my session. So,